They thought they had him cornered. They thought stripping his protection would make him vulnerable, but Trump just flipped the script on the entire Washington establishment. What happened next sent shockwaves through every corner of the swamp. Former officials who spent years attacking him are now learning what it feels like when the tables turn. Of course, the media is in full meltdown as usual, deep state panicking, and the American people are finally seeing justice served. Now, this is not about revenge. It's about exposing the two-tiered system that's protected the political class for decades. The Secret Service protection wars have begun, and nobody saw this coming. So stay with us. And when protection wars erupted in Washington, smart Americans saw the writing on the wall. Political chaos means one thing. You need to protect your family. That's why I always recommend my Patriot Supply. And right now, they've got a special deal on their 3-month emergency food kit. Save $100 while supplies last. When power struggles shut down supply chains, you will have over 2,000 calories a day for 90 days. Real meals packed in sturdy buckets, lasting up to 25 years, made right here in America. Don't wait for the next crisis. Go to preparewithgary.com. Security starts at home. Okay. Let's get right into this. President Trump has revoked the Secret Service protection for the former Vice President Kamala Harris, according to a copy of a letter reviewed by ABC News.
A memo to discontinue. And ABC News has learned President Trump is revoking Secret Service protection for former Vice President Kamala Harris. Former President Biden extended Harris's protective detail for an additional year on top of the legally required 6 months. Now, a senior official says President Trump told DHS in a memo to discontinue security-related procedures for Harris beyond those required by law, effective September 1st. In March, the president also canceled former Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas' detail, along with the details of the Biden children, John Bolton, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And ABC News has learned President Trump is revoking Secret Service.
Payback is a bitch. Remember this, back in January 22nd this year, former National Security Director John Bolton responds to Trump revoking his security clearance and Secret Service detail, talking with Turd Tapper on CNN.
For U.S. government.
Mr. Ambassador, what's your reaction to Trump revoking your security detail, ending your Secret Service detail?
Well, I've had better days, that's for sure. This is... I think typical.
Yeah, if he only knew his worst days were ahead of him, right? Remember, this is in January, and just about a week ago, the FBI raided his home.
Of Trump the man, this is the kind of character or lack thereof who's now president. You know, when President Biden, recognizing the threat against me and several other current and former U.S. government officials, authorized the Secret Service to restore protection, which I had when I was National Security Advisor. I'm sure he probably wasn't the happiest man in the world because of the criticisms that I've made of him on his foreign policy. But he did it because it's simply not permissible to allow a rogue state like the terrorist in Iran to threaten Americans, whether they're in government or not, simply for expressing opinions or, in the case of the government employees, doing their job. Trump has decided to reverse it. It's obviously within his power to do it. But I think this is a matter that people should take seriously and let them contemplate who made the right decision here, President Biden or President Trump.
Well, let me ask you what ultimately you think it means, because your life is at risk. There has actually been an arrest made of an Iranian national who was part of a plot against you. Is he ultimately saying, I hope you die? I mean, how do you interpret this?
Well, I think it's certainly a downer for expressing your opposition to Donald Trump, as I say. Now,
well, hey, maybe you need to shave that mustache and go in hiding. Okay, here's a clip. President Trump responding. This is January 24th, just a couple days after President Trump removed Bolton's security detail and his clearance. The reporter says, would you feel responsible if something happened to John Bolton or Fauci with their security detail removed?
For somebody else who, yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But, you work for government. We took some off other people too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you worked for government.
Ask for it to be taken off, sir?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci or John Bolton?
No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, they can go and hire their own security. Okay, let's see. We've got more here. I remember this when Trump, excuse me, effective immediately, former President Biden's adult children, Hunter and Ashley, will no longer receive U.S. Secret Service protection. That was March 18th. We were actually at the White House when that news broke. Let's go back to that.
This is Gary Franchi reporting from the White House with the Next News Network. Folks, it's March 18th, 2025, and I'm just outside the briefing room where fake news gets churned out daily, but not us. Next News is still standing, cutting through the lies, and today's rundown, well, it is a gut punch. Let's start with this. Trump just yanked Secret Service protection from Hunter and Ashley Biden, effective yesterday. Hunter had 18 agents tailing him on some South African vacation. Ashley had 13. Trump posted it on Truth Social, calling it ridiculous taxpayer waste. And he's right. Why are we babysitting Joe's grown kids? Hunter's 55, Ashley's 45. No threats, no reason, just privilege. Trump's done it before. X details for Bolton, Pompeo, Fauci, and now the Bidens are on their own. And X is lit up. Some cheer, some cry foul me. Well, I say good riddance to the gravy train. The next bombshell, 80,000 JFK files dropped today, unredacted. Deputy Press Secretary Harrison Field says we will be shocked.
That was when the news broke. We were right there on the ground when it happened. Okay, this is 12 hours ago. CNN, or no, I'm sorry, this is MSNBC. I guess what's really the difference? Kamala Harris loses her Secret Service protection, and MSNBC tries to tie it into Bolton and retribution, when in reality, she has it longer than any VP in history. Listen.
This is weird. No, because the Secret Service works for weeks on these things. The security apparatus is planned for a very long time, so they weren't prepared for it. But it's also a piece of how Donald Trump works, right? Because it is retributive, right? It's not just, we want to save money on the Secret Service or, this is weird. They do it because, some of the Harris folks said because of distractions from all of the things that are swirling around. And two, just because he doesn't like Vice President Kamala Harris. At the end of the day, that is what I heard over and over and over again. And it speaks to how Donald Trump operates. He used the government to deal with his own personal animosity with people.
And then, of course, we saw the FBI raiding John Bolton's house. We have no idea whether one thing leads to another thing, but...
And that's, of course, much more serious.
Because
that is the use of the judicial system, perhaps, against someone who has been critical of him. That is when you talk about the thing with Kamala Harris, not unprecedented. The thing with John Bolton, that's pretty unprecedented.
Okay, let's turn to...
No, because...
It's not really unprecedented because that's called draining the swamp. Let's keep going here. We got some more to dig into. Okay, now, apparently, Sully, just 11 hours ago, writes, Fruit Loops are melting down over the revocation of Kamala Harris's Secret Service. Here's the thing. Vice presidents received 6 months of protection after their term. AutoPen signed an order giving her 1 year. Kamala received 8 months. In closing, Kamala received more Secret Service protection than other VPs. Kamala wasn't stripped of her detail. Trump is not petty. She could have lost it in June like all the other VPs. Now, Trump actually let her keep her detail longer than expected. Oh, yes, the meltdowns are beginning.
Is very much. Hi, there's a lot going on in the country right now. And I realize that this only affects this one individual person, but this pisses me off. Trump has canceled the Secret Service protection for Kamala Harris. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but she wrote a book, and so she's going out. I don't think she started yet, or maybe she just started her book tour for promotion of that book. So she's going to be out and about in a lot of different places, going to a lot of different public events. So, just the regular threat environment is increased. And with this Orange Cheetos rhetoric, obviously, the threat level is very much heightened. And she was supposed to continue that Secret Service protection until July of next year, because she normally would have gotten it until July of this year. But then Biden signed an order to give her 1 year of extra protection, because these people are crazy. So she was supposed to then have that extended till July of next year. And he has just signed an order that says that it ends on September 1st. So she's going to be out and about with no Secret Service protection. And that just pisses me off because it is so petty and intentional and actually really dangerous. So I know she probably has enough money to hire her own security and whatever. It's not the biggest deal in the whole world. It just pisses me off because he's
I'm so
fucking petty.
I'm so sorry how pissed off you are. But remember when they all tried to do this to Donald Trump? Here we have this. Kamala Harris had her Secret Service protection canceled by Trump on Thursday. Good. Having her escorted to go shopping at fancy stores had been a waste of our tax dollars. Joe Biden had secretly extended her Secret Service protection for a year. Oh, this is some video. Like she's going to have to go shopping without that protection now. Remember when they all tried to revoke Trump's? They wanted him to be vulnerable. But President Trump, he let her have an extra couple months and then said, no more. So that is only the beginning. If you got value from this report, tab subscribe, because my final thought is next. Now, this matters because we're watching the death of the double standard in real time. For years, the political elite enjoyed taxpayer-funded protection while plotting against Trump and his supporters. They weaponized the Secret Service. They pushed the disgraced Former Protectees Act and nearly succeeded in leaving Trump vulnerable on January 13th. Now they're crying about losing their own perks. Too bad. The message is crystal clear. If you attack the American people's choice for president, if you abuse your power, if you feast on taxpayer dollars while ordinary Americans struggle, your privileges end. Period. No more lifetime security for shopping sprees. No more protection for adult children of corrupt politicians. No more special treatment for warmongers who send other people's kids to die. So here's my question. Should former officials who actively undermine a sitting president keep their taxpayer-funded security? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you are fired up, check out our Next News merch shop. It's linked down below. Let's keep this truth movement rolling.